Overwhelmed by affection for my wife, we decided to surprise her during her business trip. While she was away, our children and I planned a visit, catching flights to join her. However, I discovered that some surprises only bring joy to one party. The idea struck me suddenly at breakfast. Lily's eyes widened, and Jake, engrossed in his phone game, seemed half asleep. Emily had been absent for 3 days, with 4 more to go, making a total of 7. An extended separation we found unbearable. "What if we visited Mom instead?" I suggested, placing my coffee cup down. Lily's eyes lit up, and Jake glanced up, showing genuine enthusiasm. In a flurry, we organized ourselves, booked flights, and prepared to arrive the same night. The thought of Emily's expression upon seeing us filled me with anticipation. Tears, perhaps, even a gasp. For years, we hadn't experienced a moment like that. Yet, a tiny unease lingered. Emily didn't respond when I called that morning, which wasn't uncommon, but I texted instead, "Hey, hope everything's good. Just wanted to hear your voice." No reply. My younger children and I missed her dearly. Call whenever you can. Still no response. It felt odd, but busy work trips might have been the reason. I dismissed it. Finally, we touched down in Chicago that evening. The air buzzed with city vitality, car horns honking, lights flashing. The crisp scent of downtown filled the air. The kids were excited. I rented a vehicle, put them inside, and inputted the hotel address into my GPS. As I drove, my heart rate increased. I'd told myself not to call Emily before we arrived, wanting it to be a genuine surprise. But now, an unsettling feeling gnawed at me. It was growing stronger. I dialed her number. Still no answer. I checked the clock, 9:43 p.m. Not too late. Perhaps she was genuinely occupied or asleep early. 5 minutes from the hotel, I tried again. Straight to voicemail. The itch was scratching intensely now. Jake and Lily were joking in the back seat, oblivious to my tightened grip on the steering wheel. Once we arrived at the hotel entrance, my heart was pounding for no apparent reason. I instructed the kids to wait in the lobby as I retrieved our room keys. "We're going to scare her, right?" Lily questioned, hopping on her toes. "Yes," I responded, but my voice sounded strained. I approached the check-in desk, plastering a smile on my face. "Hello, my wife is checking in here. Emily Carter. I'd like to surprise her. Could you tell me her room number?" The receptionist politely returned my smile. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't disclose guest room numbers, of course." I placed my credit card on the counter. "Could you at least call up and inform her that her husband is here?" She nodded and reached for the phone. I observed as she dialed. After a moment, her expression changed. "Oh," she said. Her gaze shifted to me. She didn't finish. My stomach nodded. "Perhaps she's sleeping," I suggested weakly. She pondered over her next words, considering the alternative of disregarding the call. The woman glanced at her computer screen, noting that someone else was checked in along with her. A second person. My vision blurred. "Excuse me," I questioned, my voice sounding distant and unfamiliar. She seemed puzzled. "Well, yes, the room is in her name, but she registered an additional guest. I assumed you were aware of this." I stared at her, then burst into laughter. A nervous look crossed the receptionist's face. I wasn't enraged yet. Instead, I was in a state of anticipation, with a sudden hush enveloping my thoughts. "Who is the plus one?" she inquired tentatively. I asked the same question, keeping my voice steady, though it seemed too calm. She hesitated before replying. "I'm unable to share that detail." I let out a gradual breath through my nose. "Understood. Then I require a room." Her fingers danced across the keyboard. It was evident she was avoiding eye contact. She understood. She was well aware of the circumstances at hand. A moment passed, and a room key was in my grasp. The same floor as Emily's, merely a few doors away. Ideal. I returned to the lobby, maintaining a composed expression to avoid alarming my children. "Everything is arranged," I said, pasting on a smile. "Let's head there first to drop off our belongings." Lily seemed ready to skip beside me. "Can we visit Mommy immediately?" "Soon," I assured her. We took the elevator up. Jake was fixated on his phone, while Lily hummed a familiar tune from a cartoon. They remained oblivious. Our room was pleasant, tidy, and unremarkable, but I barely noticed. I instructed the kids to settle in, order whatever they desired from room service, and then I stepped into the hallway. Emily's room was situated 4 doors away. I approached it deliberately, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. Am I going to find my work colleague inside her hotel room? Was there an innocent reason for being here instead, or something else? I approached the door, number 814. My fingers lingered on the door for a moment. Then I knocked. No response. I knocked again, this time more forcefully. Still no answer. I knew she was in there. I could sense it. I took out my phone and texted her. Hey, it's me. I'm at your hotel. Open up. No reply came. I clenched my jaw so tightly it began to ache. Then, without giving myself time to think twice, I turned around and strode back down the stairs. The receptionist looked taken aback to see me again. Hey, I said, sliding my room key over the counter. It seems I had locked myself out. Can I get a new one? She nodded, started typing away at her keyboard. And then I asked nonchalantly, by the way, could you add my wife's room to this key? We usually do that when she travels. You know, just in case. I gave a smile, pretending I wasn't on the verge of destroying our entire marriage. She hesitated for a moment before continuing with her work. After a beep, she used my card, tapped additional keys, and returned it. All good, she said. Thanks, I responded. Then I retraced my steps to verify. My feet felt insensitive as I headed towards Emily's room. The keycard felt hot against my palm. My heart didn't merely pound. It thundered in my ears, echoing some deep-rooted sensation. This was the moment. Reaching room 814, I took a deep breath. If I was wrong, I'd seem insane. If I was right, I refrained from dwelling on that possibility. I inserted the keycard. Beep. The light turned green. I twisted the handle and gently opened the door. The initial sensation was the odor. That specific blend of cologne, sweat, and an aroma my mind wouldn't yet identify. An aroma unsuitable for a room where my wife was supposed to be alone. The room was dimly lit, only the bedside lamp on, and there, ensnared in the crisp white hotel linens, was Emily, and another man. Initially, I failed to notice his features. I was preoccupied, gazing at her. My spouse, the parent of my offspring, reclining there with merely a sheet concealing her modesty. Our eyes locked, and for an instant, I saw something chilling in them. It wasn't remorse or embarrassment. It was annoyance, a hint that I was the issue, that my mere existence was an obstacle. In an instant, her expression changed. She gasped, sitting up rapidly, drawing the sheets around herself, which offered no protection. Jason, she queried hesitantly, eyes wide. The man beside her stirred drowsily, unaware of the chaos. I entered the room, shutting the door behind me. Who's he? My voice echoed, surprisingly tranquil. Emily glanced between me and him, as if calculating her strategy. And then she had the nerve to claim, Jason, this isn't what it seems. I emitted a harsh, humorless chuckle, which caused the man in bed to fully awaken. He stared up at me, bewildered. Then his complexion paled. All right. I turned my focus towards my wife. Is this true? I asked, maintaining a deceptively composed tone. It appears you're in a hotel bed with another man. She gulped. Let me clarify. She crossed her arms. Then she began to explain. Her mouth opened and closed before finally sighing, massaging her temples as if I were causing her a headache. Jason, she stated firmly, you're overreacting. This isn't significant. Not at all. A sensation in my chest seemed to fracture. The man in bed, now attempting to pull on his clothes, cleared his throat. Perhaps I should sit here quietly. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I growled, causing him to freeze. Emily rolled her eyes. This is so commonplace. She mumbled under her breath. You always make mountains out of molehills. I stared at her in disbelief. Emily, I said slowly, I traveled here with our children to surprise you. Lily and Jake are in the next room, believing their mother is diligently working on a business trip. She flinched at that revelation. For a moment, then her face stiffened once more. Jason, you don't comprehend. I believe I do, however, was my response. A heavy silence ensued, broken only by our breathing. It was then that he spoke, his hands raised. I had been unaware of Emily's marital status. Emily spun to face him. Ryan, she snapped, be quiet. But the revelation had already taken hold. I offered a chilling smile. So, Ryan, I inquired, you thought she was single? His throat worked as he swallowed. No, she never mentioned a spouse or children. Emily paled at this admission. I shifted my gaze back to her, clenching my jaw. Fascinating, I mused. I don't understand. I moved closer, every word spoken in a lethal whisper. Perhaps you could illuminate the situation for me. Her lips parted, but she remained silent. Emily opened her mouth, but no words emerged. For the first time since entering this room, Emily looked trapped. Her eyes darted to Ryan, then to me again, then to the floor, as if trying to reshape reality in her favor. I allowed the silence to linger. I desired her to experience it. I wanted her to dwell in the chaos she created. Eventually, she spoke up. Jason, please, she whispered. This isn't what you think. I chuckled, a chilling, menacing laugh. Is it now? I mused. Because I believe my wife is involved in an extramarital affair in a hotel room while I'm caring for our children at home, and that seems accurate to me. Her lips quivered. But then she did something that shattered me almost. She softened her tone, tilted her head slightly, and reached for me, as if I was the one being unreasonable. Jason, I made a mistake, she said, brushing her fingers against my wrist. But it's not what you think. Ryan shifted uneasily. Perhaps I should leave, Emily. Shut up, Ryan. She turned her head swiftly towards him, even making me flinch. I watched the way her body stiffened, the way she clenched her teeth. She didn't seem ashamed. She was frustrated at being discovered. I stepped back, shaking my head. Come on, Emily, just be honest with me this time. For once. How long has this been happening? She hesitated momentarily, but that was enough. Ryan exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. Oh, damn it, he muttered under his breath. For that long, huh? I said, watching her carefully. She exploded. Why does it matter? She asked angrily. Jason, seriously, why are you turning this into some massive betrayal? A chill ran through me. A massive betrayal, I repeated, my voice echoing. Emily groaned, running a hand through her hair as if I was the annoying one. Jason, you're an excellent father. You're an excellent husband. You work hard, but I need something else. She halted herself, closing her eyes tightly. I moved cautiously towards her. Say it, I urged. She didn't. So I did. You needed something more. She winced, but didn't deny it. Taking a deep breath, I struggled to suppress the flames crawling up my esophagus. Emily, our children are in the adjacent room at this moment, I explained. Lily was beyond thrilled to see you. She couldn't contain her excitement throughout the entire flight. And there was Jake. Geesh. Jake even set aside his phone for over 10 seconds just to surprise you. She looked away. You weren't meant to arrive, she mumbled quietly. My stomach plummeted. I burst out laughing, but it soon turned into a disbelieving chuckle. Goodness gracious, you thought you could get away with this little stunt. You were planning to return home, give our kids goodnight kisses, and slip into bed as if nothing happened. She winced. Then, in a snap, she lifted her chin defiantly and uttered the cruelest thing she possibly could have said. You should have informed me you were coming, Jason. The room seemed to spin. Ryan mumbled something under his breath, grabbing his belongings. Yep, I'm leaving. He hastily made a run for the door, resembling a rat abandoning a sinking ship. I didn't glance at her, as my entire world seemed to spin. Are you suggesting? My voice faltered. I swallowed hard. You're implying this is my fault? She folded her arms, her expression inscrutable. I'm stating that if you had shared your feelings, this wouldn't have occurred. A deep resentment surged within me. I drew a deep, quivering breath, struggling to remain composed. Emily, it wasn't my presence that caused this. It was your decision. She sneered. Come off it, as if you've been emotionally available for ages. That stung. Deeply. I stepped back, bewildered. What on earth are you referring to? She scoffed derisively. Jason, don't pretend to be without fault, she asserted, as though we were discussing something trivial like neglecting to take out the trash. You hardly ever look at me anymore. You're always engrossed in work, always with the children. And yet, she sighed sharply, I merely needed to feel feminine again. I fixed my gaze on her, waiting for remorse, but none came. The truth became clear to me then, but she remained motionless, her expression as cold as stone, as if I was expected to accept it, as if I was supposed to comprehend. And that's when I knew. There was no hope for reconciliation. Inside me, something snapped, not in a violent or rage-filled manner. Instead, a quiet fracture settled over me, turning my heart into ice. I gazed at my wife, the woman I had shared life and children with, and realized she didn't feel remorse. She wasn't embarrassed. She was indifferent. I let out a long, controlled breath, preparing myself for a battle I knew I would win. All right, I said. Emily looked at me, blinking in surprise. All right. What? All right, she echoed back, tilting her head. Now I understand. She adjusted her stance, crossing her arms protectively across her chest. Jason, don't make a spectacle. You don't love me anymore. I interjected, halting her words. Her lips parted in surprise. Moved slowly forward, I queried, haven't we been out of love for quite some time now? Emily tensed her jaw. That's not accurate. She demanded an answer. Her delay was followed by a dismissive shrug that sent a chill down my spine. She admitted, I don't know. I chuckled, feeling helpless. Wow. I rubbed my face. You don't know? Her expression soured again, as if I were prolonging the discussion. Jason, she said with a touch of exasperation, this wasn't part of the plan. She attempted to soften the blow. I couldn't help but feel elated. I scrutinized her. You think I don't desire you? She showed contempt. Not in the same way as before. Meaning not like a stranger in a hotel room. She flinched at my words. That's unfair, I retorted sharply. Unfair? My voice echoed through the room. Apologies, Emily, I said sarcastically. Apparently this situation isn't fair to you, and it's too challenging. She dared to look away. You want to feel like a woman again? I scoffed dismissively, feeling like a spouse who uncovered deceit as she covertly met strangers in hotel rooms while children yearned for her attention at home. She released a slow breath, massaging her temples as if I was causing her pain. At this moment, I realized she wasn't heeding me. Instead, she was only waiting for me to fall silent. I studied her intently, focusing on the woman who once wept during sad films, left affectionate notes in my lunchbox, and erupted in laughter over Jake's insipid jokes at dinner. That woman was nowhere to be found now. Perhaps she still existed, but had chosen to disregard me. Either way, I was finished. I faced the door. Upon hearing this, Emily tensed. Where are you going? I hesitated, casting a glance back. To our children, the ones you seem to have forgotten during your pursuit of self-rediscovery. Her expression twisted into something unattractive. Tone it down, Jason, I chuckled softly. You haven't witnessed dramatic yet. Then I exited through the door, leaving her behind amidst the debris she created. In the hotel hallway, my legs seemed disconnected from me, moving on their own. My body felt leaden, as if weights were attached to my shoulders. Yet, my mind was urging me forward. Forward to room 810, where my children awaited Lily, possibly sitting cross-legged on the bed, laughing at a cartoon. Jake, likely halfway through a burger from room service, already boasting to his friends about Chicago being pretty cool actually. They were oblivious, completely unaware that their mother had just shattered our family in a dimly lit hotel room with someone named Ryan, unaware that the man who walked out that door was no longer the same person they knew. I halted before our door, 814 to 810. Only 4 rooms separated us. For the doors below, it's likely their mother was still in bed upstairs, running her fingers through her hair, irritated with me. Not remorseful, not grief-stricken, merely frustrated. I gritted my teeth until they throbbed. Then, at last, I inserted the key card. Beep. The light turned green and the door swung open. Before I could fully enter, Lily hurled herself towards me. "Dad, did you see her?" she exclaimed, embracing my waist. Was she overjoyed? Did she weep? A lump rose in my throat, threatening to choke me. I managed a smile, pushing down the bitterness rising in my esophagus. "Not yet, sweetie," I whispered, stroking her silky curls. She was preoccupied. "We'll see her tomorrow. Understood?" Her small face furrowed with puzzlement. "Oh, okay." Yet she was so trusting, so innocent, that she merely nodded and let it go. Jake lazed on his bed, one arm propped behind his head, partially watching TV. "All right, so, what's the next move?" he inquired, popping a fry into his mouth. My mind went blank. "Next move?" I repeated, bewildered. There was no plan left. In this room, feigning normalcy, I knew their mother was likely concocting explanations mere doors away. It was imperative for us to depart. "Fancy doing something enjoyable?" I suggested unexpectedly, my tone transforming into a facade of lightness and normality. "Mayhap ice cream? A brief stroll around the city before retiring." Lily reacted as though she'd just won the lottery. "Yes." Jake raised an eyebrow, but agreed readily. "Sure, why not?" I swiftly tucked my wallet into my coat. "Let's go then." Lily rushed to find her footwear, while Jake slipped his phone into his pocket, and I took one final glance around the room, a place that had once seemed like a casual family trip, but now felt foreign, before stepping out, ensuring to leave everything behind. For we would not return. As we exited the hotel, the chilly night air struck me forcefully, reminding me of what was real, something I longed for, since nothing else felt genuine anymore. Lily pulled my hand, swinging as we strolled along Chicago's bustling sidewalk. Jake casually slipped his hands into the pockets of his hoodie, sporting earphones around his neck, casting sidelong glances, seemingly appreciating the moment. As for me, I was merely attempting to inhale, trying to disregard the burden of my phone within my pocket, anticipating her imminent call or message, suppressing the simmering anger within me like smoldering embers, feigning normality as they were unaware. "Can I have 2 scoops?" Lily inquired, almost dancing beside me. I managed a smile. "Have 3, I replied. Her expression brightened. "Best night ever." Jake chuckled. "Father seems cheerful. Let's make the most of it before he realizes we're past our bedtime." They remained oblivious. We located a modest ice cream parlor, neon lights flickering against the dim streets. The aroma of waffle cones and sugar assailed me, reminiscent of a bygone era when surprises equated happiness, not calamity. We placed our orders. Lily received rainbow sprinkles, Jake got chocolate fudge, I was given something I didn't recognize. As the night threatened to close in, I felt compelled to keep going. We found ourselves at a small table near the window, and for a fleeting moment, it felt almost ordinary. Lily chatted about school, while Jake teased her about her habit of coloring outside the lines. I went along with it all, taking bites of my tasteless ice cream. Then my phone vibrated, revealing who the message was from before I even glanced at it. My gut nodded as I retrieved it. A single new message. "Emily Jason, where are you?" I fixated on it. My finger hovered over the screen, then I switched the phone off and tucked it away, for she wasn't entitled to that question, not after what had transpired. "Hey, Dad," Jake called, snapping me out of my thoughts. I looked up to find him regarding me intently. "Yeah?" he inquired with a furrowed brow, too astute for his age. "Are you all right?" I pondered, then eventually returned his smile, a genuine one this time. "Yes. What's up, buddy?" I queried, turning my gaze between him and Lily. For the first time all night, I wasn't preoccupied with her. Instead, I was contemplating our escape and finding a means to remove the kids from her grasp. By the time we returned to the hotel, my decision was firm. We weren't staying any longer. I didn't give a hoot about our belongings still in the room or the extra 2 nights we'd reserved. I had to free the children from this predicament before it affected them. "All right, everyone," I announced, feigning nonchalance as we entered the elevator. "There's a change of plans. We're leaving tonight." Lily let out a surprised gasp. "What? But we just arrived." Jake frowned suspiciously. "Why, what about Mom?" I took a deep breath. Something had transpired. Jake noticed my unease, but Lily was too naive to perceive the cracks in my voice, so I needed to maintain that facade. "But Daddy," she protested, her lower lip sticking out. We hadn't even managed to surprise her yet. I forced down the lump in my throat. "We'll meet Emily upon returning home, but for now, let's keep moving. Keep them occupied." As we neared our room, there stood Emily, waiting outside, arms crossed. Lily spotted her and raced towards her, but I intercepted, guiding her away. "Go inside, Lil," I instructed firmly. Jake hesitated, sensing something amiss, but eventually nodded and took Lily within. The door closed, leaving us alone. Exhaling sharply, Emily questioned me. "What the hell, Jason?" Remaining silent, I merely watched her, disheveled and tense, hinting at her restless wait in a room with Ryan. "Good," she retorted sarcastically. "So now you're not talking." "Very immature, isn't it?" I gritted my teeth. "What is it you desire, Emily? You fled like a maniac, snatched our children, and vanished. Care to consider how that might appear?" A cold, cynical chuckle escaped me. "Oh, I apologize for the inconvenience. Does it seem problematic for you, Emily? Does it hint at perhaps your inadequacy as a wife and mother? Because here's the truth, you embody those very flaws." Her expression contorted. "Jason, lower your tone, or else." I moved nearer, looming over her. "You no longer possess the authority to dictate my actions." She shuddered. For the first time, genuine fear glimmered in her eyes. It's good that she fears, not because I'd hurt her, but because what follows next is ominous. Because I wasn't merely angry, I was done. "Jason," she pleaded again, more softly this time. "Please, let's go inside and discuss." I shook my head. "There's no need for conversation." "Yes, there is." Her voice quivered. "This is our family, Jason." I maintained the silence, allowing her to wriggle in it. Finally, I uttered the words I knew would shatter her. "You should have considered the consequences before entangling yourself with another man." Her expression changed, finally showing genuine emotion, as if she finally comprehended the damage done. But it was too late. I took out my hotel room key, entered, and closed the door behind me. Before departing, I glanced back at her one last time. "I'll be filing for divorce when we return home." The door clicked shut, and I released a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My hands trembled, my jaw ached from its tightness, but my mind remained clear this was happening. I was done. There was no turning back. "Who was that?" Lily called from the bed, her legs dangling over the side. I turned, forcing a smile. "Simply someone from the hotel, sweetie." Jake didn't believe me. He sat against the headboard, arms crossed, scrutinizing me. "Was it Mom?" he questioned bluntly. I hesitated. Lying to Lily was one thing. Young as she was, she couldn't grasp the situation. Yet, Jake seemed to witness too much. I sighed deeply and ran my hand over my face. "Yeah, his demeanor didn't alter. It wasn't a question we fought. Right?" I let out a breath. "We merely had a discussion." He gave me a prolonged scrutiny. Then he asked in a low voice, "Are you and Mom planning to separate?" It felt like a blow to my side. Lily stiffened, her large, innocent gaze flickering between us. "What do you mean?" I frowned. "Are you suggesting we are divorcing?" He looked at me with a hint of sadness. "But you both love us." My heart ached. I gathered Lily in my arms, hugging her tightly. "My dear," I murmured, kissing the top of her head. "Things will be all right, I guarantee it." Glancing over my shoulder, I met Jake's eyes. He was not weeping, not shouting. He simply looked fatigued. In that moment, I realized he had already comprehended. The situation was irreparable. He hadn't found the words to admit it aloud yet. Lily's soft whimpers brushed against my garment. "Can't we go home now?" I suppressed a lump in my throat. "Of course, sweetheart. We're going home." Jake acknowledged with a nod. Good. In an instant, the decision was made. We were departing. I hastily booked the earliest available flight, one-way and non-refundable, as we wouldn't return to this hotel, this city, or her. As we arrived at the airport, a sense of finality hung over me like a cold, weighty but stable shroud. It was over. No more acting. No more enduring deceptions. No more hoping for Emily's homecoming, feeling like a phantom in my marriage. All that mattered now was safeguarding them, my children. Lily dozed against me as we waited at the gate. Her small fingers clung to my sleeve, fearful I might vanish. Jake wore his hood, engrossed in his phone, indicating deep thought instead of active browsing. I refrained from checking my own device as I knew Emily was messaging and calling, likely distressed. But she no longer concerned me personally. Emily murmured sleepily, "Do you suppose Mom will return after us?" I tried to relax my hand. "I can't say, dear." She yawned, rubbing her eyes. "I hope so." I remained silent, unable to deceive her. Contrastingly, Jake snorted softly. "No, she won't." I shot him a stern glance, but he merely shook his head. "She doesn't care we're here, Dad." "She didn't inquire about us." His tone was low yet piercing. "She only sought you out. My father cautioned me to cease." I winced, acknowledging the truth. Emily hadn't made efforts to see them, hadn't pleaded with me for one final hug from Lily or an apology from Jake. Her motives were not reconciliation, but control. Unable to stop them from departing, she didn't bid farewell. Perplexed, Lily looked at me, asking, "Mommy still loves us, doesn't she?" My voice stuck in my throat. "Absolutely," I replied, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "She always will." Perhaps Emily did love them in her own way, but love alone wasn't sufficient. We were waiting for a return flight without her. A flight attendant announced our plane was boarding. "Let's go," I said, standing and taking Lily's small backpack. "We're returning home." Jake remained silent, simply nodding. As we moved towards the plane, I felt a sense of relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't merely abandoning Emily, I was reclaiming my life. The flight was peaceful. Lily nestled against me, her little body breathing softly in deep, pure sleep. Jake wore his earphones, gazing outside, evidently not listening to music, instead contemplating the expansive, gloomy sky amidst clouds. I, on the other hand, fixated on the seat ahead of me, replaying the events of the past 24 hours in my mind like a recurring, unwanted movie sequence. The expression of Emily's face contorting with irritation when she was caught, the manner she made me believe it was my fault, the way she departed without bidding adieu to her children, these moments haunted me. I tightly clenched and then relaxed my fists. It didn't matter anymore. We were returning home. However, home no longer felt like home. Upon disembarking the plane, everything seemed different. The car ride back was unusually silent, as if the world itself sensed something amiss. As we pulled into the driveway, Lily yawned lazily. "Aren't Mom still at the hotel?" Jake glanced at me in the rearview mirror, anticipating a response. I drew a deep breath. "Yes, love." She gave a approving nod. "I'm going to create a card for when she returns home." Jake turned away without speaking. I unlocked the front door, and upon entering, the absence struck me like a blow. The silence was heavy, almost oppressive, as if the house sensed Emily wouldn't return. Lily discarded her shoes and dashed towards the living room, already searching for crayons. Jake entered more leisurely, his gaze scanning the space as if he saw it for the first time. I deposited my bag by the door, releasing a sigh, then my eyes involuntarily moved to the kitchen counter where Emily's mug from the morning she left still remained. Cold and unused, it served as a stark reminder of the life we once shared before I discovered the truth. It seemed Jake had noticed my gaze because he snorted softly. "Looks like you won't have to make her coffee anymore." I swallowed thickly. "Jake," he mumbled, striding towards the stairs. "I'm all right," he said. He intended to retire to his room. I chose not to interfere as I wondered what words could ease his burden or alter the past. Could I confess my hopes for Emily's deception? Should I voice my longing for things to be different? Alas, all I could muster was a momentary closing of my eyes, followed by a gentle rub on my face and a sigh. Then I turned my gaze upon Lily, who was busily scribbling on a sheet of paper. "Daddy," she inquired, "how do you spell love?" My throat constricted as I knelt beside her, brushing a stray lock from her face. "Love, dear." She beamed, laboriously penning each letter in large, uneven letters, "Love," and below it, she penned, "MOM." The sight of her words made me look away, for I couldn't bear it at that moment. Not while my child still held hope for her mother's return. Not when I was uncertain how to disclose the truth. Not when I wasn't even certain what home signified anymore. The house lay silent, too quiet. Jake was in his room, the door closed, likely discussing with friends about his family's sudden disintegration overnight. Meanwhile, Lily remained seated at the kitchen table, focused on shading a heart next to Mom that she had drawn, oblivious to the turmoil. As for me, I was standing motionless, contemplating how to inform my daughter about her mother leaving our family much earlier than I found out in the hotel room. With a sigh, I retrieved my phone, but it held no new messages from Emily. She had given up. No more texts, no calls, not even a contrived explanation. The cessation of communication struck me more deeply than anything else. I had invested years into her, our marriage, our family, and as soon as she realized she could no longer wriggle out of the situation, she ceased choosing us altogether. Lily's gentle voice broke through my thoughts. "Daddy," she asked sweetly, looking up at me with trust-filled eyes, "when will Mommy be back home?" My heart contracted as if collapsing. How do you tell a 6-year-old the reality? How can one explain that the person who provided nightly comforts, healed her small hurts, and pledged unwavering presence would no longer be around? One simply doesn't, not in this manner. I lowered myself beside her, gently stroking her hair. "Mommy will be absent for a while, sweetheart," she pouted. "Why?" I hesitated before answering. "Because sometimes adults make mistakes, and to correct them, we must figure things out alone." She contemplated this, tracing over the heart she had drawn on a piece of paper. "But she still loves me, doesn't she?" My breath caught. I managed a smile. "She will always love you." It wasn't the complete truth, but it was her truth, the one she required, the one she would cling to until old enough to grasp the real story. She smiled back. "All right, then I'll keep this for when she returns." I nodded, my throat too constricted to speak, because she wasn't aware. Unaware of its prolonged stay, the card she had recently crafted remained on the counter for days, weeks, months. She was unaware that each dawn would bring her rushing downstairs, anticipating to find her mother sipping coffee at the table. Unforeseen was the day she'd cease inquiring, the day she'd erase from memory entirely that she had ever created this card. This realization struck me hardest because, despite my resentment towards Emily for her actions, it pained me that she could still fracture our daughter's heart without even being present.